All right, we're going to do just a quick update on Chainlink. We just did Bitcoin and Ethereum for January 10th of 2024. Starting this out because obviously today was the big news of the SEC approving the spot Bitcoin ETFs. So I'm finally jumping in here with this YouTube series during probably the time of the most uncertainty as far as price action ever. So definitely offering myself a little bit of a challenge here. But I've got the Chainlink chart open here on the weekly. Just to sort of give you a recap, I personally hold Ethereum, Chainlink, and Bitcoin. Those are my three major crypto holdings. So those are the assets that I track the most closely. And so on the Chainlink chart, we just experienced a massive breakout for Chainlink back here in October when it finally, after how many years? I think it was 18 months is what I wound up counting. The mother of all sideways consolidation patterns. I don't think I had ever seen a chart do this before, whether in crypto or traditional markets. This was one crazy sideways pattern. But as anyone who trades understands, the longer the consolidation period, the more violent the move in either direction, whether it's up or down. Luckily for us, or at least those who believe in Chainlink, that was up. So back here, when we got this little shakeout move here below the consolidation box. Back here in June, once it got back above, I actually called that in a Discord message to my crypto buddies who I talk crypto with on a daily basis. I said this was it. This was the move. That was the bottom. I called bottom right here. And, well, we never looked back. So, as far as what happened today with the SEC news, just let's go back. Let's go down to the daily so that we can see a little bit better what's going on here. We were forming a little bit of a loosely formed falling wedge. And then we broke right out of that pretty significant downtrend that we were in. So this was actually starting to concern me a little bit because I had always assumed that there was a chance we could come down to about $11 again and test this consolidation range that we had broken out of back in October. So I was hoping to avoid that. I mean, literally anything's still possible. We could still do that and fall down below and just sort of like loop back over. But I think there's just too much bullish action that's going to be happening in the crypto space, at least in the short to intermediate term. Crypto typically goes into a little bit of a lull over the summer. So I would anticipate, or at least hope, that things are going to grind into about May and then sort of go into maybe consolidation or a capitulation period between May and maybe like August or September or something like that, and then start to come back to life in the fall. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that, because anything's possible now with this ETF. Everything's pretty much on the table as far as potential or possibilities or outcomes. I don't think anyone really knows what's going to happen, but all of it seems to be good right now. So Chainlink, should probably go back to the weekly so we can see this a little bit better. So Chainlink is still contending with a major breakout. So I just recorded two videos showing how Bitcoin and Ethereum broke out of major resistance levels. Chainlink is not quite there yet. It did break out of this consolidation period, which was amazing and exactly what it needed. But we're contending with what I kind of consider the spine of the chart. And this spine, everything under this is still essentially a consolidation. Turn off drawings here. You can sort of see how we've almost formed a bowl or like a dipper formation, if you will. It went up to its all-time highs. It came all the way down. We had that consolidation period, and then it shot right back up and got stuck right in this level of resistance again. And we've almost created this bowl, this massive cup, which we are now appearing to form a handle to. So a cup and handle pattern is obviously a very bullish pattern, and we should hopefully be heading higher if we can start to get back up to these levels. But that's why this dotted orange line here is what I consider the spine of the chart. Until it gets above that, everything is essentially still in consolidation because it needs to prove that it can get above that 1650-ish range and stay above it and use that level as support going into the future. So when we start forming these sorts of patterns, I start to look into the past to see what happened before, to see if there's any sort of correlation or something to point to. And things are obviously a lot different now than they were back in 2020. But, crypto typically creates fractal style charts, so we can sort of look into the past to see what might happen in the future. And the last time Coinbase broke out of a major consolidation range, its first consolidation range was back here in 2019, which is this is about where I first started buying Chainlink. I think it was like March of 2020. I believe it was March of 2020 where I first started buying Chainlink when it looked like it was breaking back above. So this was the first consolidation range, broke above that. So we had this falling line of resistance here. Same thing up here. And we had one back here in when it first launched back in 2018. But so we have this breakout and then a massive, massive dump. I mean, we went from $20, and I think a lot of people forgot about this because when I looked at the chart, I actually couldn't believe it because I do not remember this happening. But it went to $20, and within the span of 1, 2, 3, 4, within the span of 6 weeks, it had fallen from its peak 63% to about $7.30. Now it shot right back up again and sort of never looked back until a few years later. But a 63% drawdown from its peak, if we would do anything similar today based on where it went, 63%, I mean, that's just insane. I don't think, I mean, again, anything's possible, but that would require it to come down to $6.50. And I don't think that could happen. I guess anything's possible, but I don't necessarily see that happening. So I don't know that this is necessarily the best comparison, but looking at the chart, we're dealing with these severe sell-offs that essentially at some point form a pattern of, support and get bought up and eventually break through. And that's sort of what we're looking at here. We have a little bit of that falling wedge, which it's breaking out of, and we'll have to wait until the new weekly candle forms to see if we're going to start testing this 1650 range again. But I don't necessarily see Chainlink necessarily blowing through these levels again. I think what's going to wind up happening is it's going to take a little while for us to contend with this range, and then maybe in the spring, sometime later in a couple of weeks or a few months, then we might break through and finally start testing this next level up here, which somewhere in the low 20s. And then once we get above that, I think the sky's the limit. But again, I did have a range that I planned on selling. I don't think it's really changed much for Chainlink. I've revised my personal sell range for Bitcoin. I don't necessarily know that I've revised it for Ether. Um, Although I might end up holding Ether longer than I had planned. But yeah, Chainlink, I don't think I've revised my sell range for that either. I do think that this next top, and again, this isn't financial advice. Please take this as a grain of salt. This is for educational purposes only. But I do sort of see this cycle peak being somewhere between, I'd have to say somewhere between 85 and 85 and probably $200 for Chainlink. I know that's a pretty wide range, and I'm going to have to see. We'll just have to wait and see how the structure forms, how the chart reacts. If we get one of these blow-off tops where it flies an unbelievable amount in a very short period of time, that's probably going to result in a much lower peak. But if we get this really good, healthy consolidation and retracement action, then I think the upper range of that is absolutely 100% possible. I do have somewhere between $100 and $150 as a pretty likely target range for this next peak. I would be happy to start selling my own stack of Chainlink somewhere around $100 and being completely out once it hits 150, and then waiting for an opportunity to get back in sometime down the line in the future. But yeah, that's an update on Chainlink. That's actually, let's just take a real quick look here on the daily one more time and zoom in here. Yeah, I mean, things are essentially pegging right off of Fibonacci levels. We went from the peak down to about 1250. Chainlink came up. It tagged almost perfectly. Actually, it really does look perfectly. The 618 level, it tagged it, got rejected. Now we're contending with that level. We'll probably work with that over the next few days. And yeah, I would say by the end of the month, by the end of January, we're probably contending again with this 1650 range and hopefully breaking through with all the inflows that are going to be happening with crypto over the next few months. But anyway, that's Chainlink. We'll be back soon with an update to see where we're at.